sadly enough, we've come to it. We have come to the concluding chapter of The Batman. Batman Arkham Knight. So Batman Arkham Knight is the third Arkham game in Rocksteady's Arkham trilogy, and although Arkham Knight does give some nods to the events in Arkham Origins, ultimately it is a trilogy. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. So the plot in Batman Arkham Knight is Scarecrow comes on the scene, he's like, Gotham, I'm gonna gas all of you. So Gotham completely evacuates, leaving the Batman to deal with it. Well, Batman and the police, because you gotta have James Gordon. And that's one of the praises I can give this game. The entire time, you know it's the end game. Right from the opening titles, you know, Batman Arkham City, hey, it was all heroic, you know, and he's like on the rooftop, it's like, and he has like this crazy choir music. Every time you push a menu, he jumps off and he's flying. This one's literally Batman in the shadows, all like, boom, 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 boom. I was like, yep, that's the concluding chapter of a trilogy right there. Now, if you've played the other Arkham games, you're gonna be right at home with the combat in this game. It's everything you know, everything you love, and again, they give you more mechanics, they give you new mechanics, new combos, new things you can do. I love the multi-fear takedowns, one of the best additions ever. I've seen that mechanic before in a couple of Metal Gear Solid games, so it was no surprise to see it here, but it's just such a smart mechanic. If you're gonna borrow something, yeah, borrow that as Batman. That's what these Arkham games do, that's what Arkham City does. It puts you in the driver's seat, it puts you in the body of the Batman. You're taking people down with fear. You're being stealthy. If you want to go out and balls out combat, cool, you're probably going to get shot up a bit. You got to play it smart in this game. You got to be the detective. And they show more detective modes because you're tracking down the serial killer. There's a lot of side things to do in this game. One of the things is there's these bodies and you have to go into detective mode and you scan their bodies, scan their tissue. You have to identify these people and hopefully track this dude down. And yes, the Riddler trophies are back for I love the Riddler trophies. So when I saw him in this game, I was like, thank God. I don't know what an Arkham game would be without the Riddler trophy. And in giving you a lot of new gear, there is one huge piece of gear that is new to this game, and that is the Batmobile. I've heard mixed reactions for the Batmobile. Ultimately, I had a lot of fun with that damn thing. You're cruising through the streets of Gotham. This thing handles better than any Grand Theft Auto car. I can promise you that shit. But there are scenes where you get ambushed by these tanks. You gotta turn into a big tank yourself and you start gunning these tanks down. Batman-like? Not really, but what are you gonna do when there are tanks occupying Gotham? How are you gonna tell you just get a tank yourself? But they still do a really good job at making it feel like you're not murdering people with this thing. The tanks that you're fighting, fully unmanned. When you hit people with the car, they get electrocuted and bounced out of the way so they're not dead. And when you're shooting your cannons, like bam, 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 and then it runs across a dude and it's like stun pellet, bam, 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 bam. You're like, all right, not dead. But if you're using the Batmobile to get around Gotham, it detracts from the fun of using your grapple hook to glide across Gotham like you did in Arkham City. It's like they knew that and they were like, all right, you can use the Batmobile to launch yourself out of the Batmobile so you can go farther and faster. So they used the Batmobile to go along with the grapple mechanic, and I love that. Because in reality, if I'm going around Gotham, I'm going on the rooftops. I don't want to take the streets because I want to be Batman. It does get kind of annoying for the Riddler death traps that have to use the Batmobile and the scenarios where you have to use it in the game for the story. I mean, ultimately the biggest boss fight in the game has to do with the Batmobile. You're in the Batmobile the entire time, which makes it impersonal for the boss fight. And ultimately this game didn't have a lot of boss fights. It had confrontations, it had scenarios, but ultimately they're story-based, which I understand if people have a problem with that. I really do. I just don't as much because my favorite chapter in the Legacy of Kain series is Soul Reaver 2, and there are 0 bosses in that game. No bosses doesn't take away from the fact that you're still Batman, prowling on the rooftops, taking down goons. You feel like the Batman. You don't need a boss to do that. And there are moments with this game where you team up with Nightwing or Robin or Catwoman, and when you're doing combat, you can push L1, you do a dual team takedown, now you're controlling the other person. It's so seamless the way they switch you between the characters. I was like, that's genius. Why isn't it in this game more? And although the Scarecrow is ultimately the guy running the show, he's the big terrorist in Gotham going, hey, I'm gonna wipe this city out. The other villain that pops on the scene, that's the Arkham Knight. And all things being truthful, I wasn't really impressed with the Arkham Knight himself. He's menacing when you come across him. He hates Batman. You love that. But trying to figure out in your own mind who the Arkham Knight is more fun and more satisfying than the actual reveal of who the Arkham Knight is. I just found it kind of underwhelming, the fact that the game is named after him. Should be called Batman Arkham Fear Gas City Place. I don't know if the Arkham Knight himself can just carry the title of this game. I don't know if he deserves it. Another thing this game does that I really love is explore Batman's psyche. He's kind of losing his mind at this point from the events of the last game and the game before that. It shows in this game and they explore that in a really interesting way. I loved it. It made for a great storytelling element and one of my favorite parts of the game. But ultimately, if I'm being honest, even though Batman Arkham Knight ups the gameplay factor in every way you think it could, whether it be the combat, the tech, the takedowns. It is next level. The plot of Batman Arkham City I liked more than the plot of Batman Arkham Knight. Because the plot of Batman Arkham City started out one way, and by the end you're like, this has just grown astronomically to this end game type scenario. They're throwing everything into this game. How can there even be a next game? Arkham Knight starts out, you have to take down the Scarecrow and take down the Arkham Knight. And it ends with you having to take down the Scarecrow and take down the Arkham Knight. There's not as much evolution in the plot itself. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't have a great plot. It does. I'm just saying I prefer Arkham Cities because it's just one of the best games ever. Guys, in the end, I had a blast with Arkham Knight. I got gamer insomnia. You know how you just stay up all night playing this game and you go to sleep and you dream about the game and you wake up and you just play the game again? It has a ton of extras, a ton of side missions, everything you need to keep you entertained in a Batman Arkham game, during game and post game. And yeah, I'm telling you, you don't actually get the ending to the game until you get 100% of the game, which is really interesting that they did it that way. It's not like you get an ending and now you get the better ending. It's like you beat the game. You don't get an ending unless you actually become the Batman and take your city back. Holy shit. I had fun with the Batmobile as long as I was free roaming. When they shove it down your throat, you can deal with it until it starts getting annoying and then you're like, all right, pull it back. I don't want to have to use the Batmobile if I can just be Batman and fly or glide. That's really what he does. Batman Arkham Knight is a satisfying conclusion to the Batman Arkham trilogy, making the Batman Arkham trilogy one of the best game trilogies you can buy right now. Because Arkham Knight is awesome-tacular. Don't buy this shit on the PC. Oh my god, I guess the PC port has a myriad of problems. I'm sorry, PC users. God knows what witchcraft caused that shit to happen. My heart cries for you and goes on. I played it on PS4. Alright guys, so Arkham Knight, have you played it? What did you think about it? And what's the order of your favorite Arkham games? Whatever you think, whatever they are, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.